If you haven't noticed, I absolutely love virtual reality, and it's finally happening more than 2 years after its launch. The sci-fi exploration game No Man's Sky is coming to virtual reality. It'll be available as part of a free update this summer on the PlayStation VR and Steam VR. I guess it's not a huge surprise, but all of the team here is in love with everything sci-fi, developer Hello Games explained in a blog post. Virtual reality feels like a little science fiction becoming real, and has always seemed like a perfect fit for this futuristic game of ours. The new VR option won't have a separate game mode. Instead, you'll be able to play the entire game as it currently exists in virtual reality by bringing full VR support for free to the millions of players already playing the game. No Man's Sky will become perhaps the most owned VR title when released, which is weird to think about, says Hello. The team is working so hard to live up to the expectations of the very first trailer of this game. We are excited for that moment when millions of players will suddenly update and be able to set foot on their home planets and explore the intricate bases they have built in virtual reality for the very first time. The new VR support is part of the recently announced Beyond update for the game, which features 3 key components. The first will offer a radical new online multiplayer experience for the game, while the second is VR. The third pillar of the update has yet to be revealed. Though it had a bit of a rocky launch, developer Hello Games has steadily improved No Man's Sky since its 2016 debut, adding things like multiplayer support, base building, new underwater worlds, and alien archaeology. Meanwhile, the studio also recently announced its next game, a much smaller scale apparently, experience called The Last Campfire. Tesla's bioweapon defense mode might have nothing on what Jaguar Land Rover does to fight pathogens. The British automaker is exploring the use of ultraviolet light to kill bacteria, viruses, and allergens in the cabin. The air conditioning system inside future vehicles would blast the unwanted organisms with medical-grade UVC light, breaking down the intruder's DNA and rendering it harmless. While the approach wouldn't guarantee good health, it could minimize the chances of catching easily spread illnesses like the cold or flu. Jaguar Land Rover even claims that it could reduce the spread of antibiotic-resistant superbugs. Unfortunately, there's a catch. The company hasn't said how close it is to completing an aircon system with UVC built in, let alone shipping it inside a production car. You may not want to count on buying an I-Pace or Evoque that sterilizes the air just yet. With that said, though, it may be more a question of when than if. It's that much easier to sell a car if you can reduce the chances that a sick passenger will infect everyone else. Electric propulsion may be coming to commercial flights sooner than many thought. On the heels of a partnership between magniX, an electric aviation company, and Harbour Air, North America's largest seaplane airline, comes the announcement of a plan to convert the seaplanes in Harbour Air's fleet into electric vehicles by swapping in magniX's 750 horsepower all-electric motor for conventional gas engines. As news of the air disasters dominate the headlines this month, it's a welcome bit of bright news for the aviation industry. Aviation currently contributes 12% of all U.S. carbon emissions and 4.9% globally. Modified Harbour Air planes will compose the world's first completely electric commercial seaplane fleet. The converted planes will have zero reliance on fossil fuels and produce zero emissions. Harbour Air first demonstrated its commitment to sustainability by becoming the first fully carbon-neutral airline in North America back in 2007. Harbour Air says, "We are excited to bring commercial electric aviation to the Pacific Northwest, turning our seaplanes into e-planes." Just last year, people were talking about a huge interest in electric aviation following the European Commission's Flight Path 2050 guidelines, Electric airplane engines are the most viable way to achieve those goals, and that spurred private industry development, with companies like magniX racing to be first to bring commercial electric aviation retrofit options to the market. The first adoption cases will target middle route flights of 1,000 miles or less, which tend to be less economical for airlines to operate. Electric engines should reduce operating costs significantly. Currently, fuel accounts for 30 to 50% of aviation operating costs, and a price increase of just 1 penny per gallon equates to about $200 million spent by airlines in the U.S. on fuel per year. Now, Harbor Air operates routes between hubs like Seattle and Vancouver in the Pacific Northwest, serving more than 500,000 passengers on 30,000 commercial flights each year. The company will start by converting a 6-passenger commercial aircraft called the DHC-2. Test flights will begin late this year.